And this is The Long Way to a New Land, Part 2. It took 3 days to reach the seaport city of Gothenburg. "Look at the high houses," shouted Jonas. "Look at the sails on the boats," said Karl Erik. Papa sold the cart and horses and bought their tickets. The boat would leave the next day. They waited with the other immigrants until the mailbags, lumber, and cattle were loaded. Then they went on board. "Goodbye, Sweden," said Mamma. "Goodbye forever," cried Papa. Chapter 3, 4 Days to Liverpool. It was smelly and dark under the deck. People were packed together on the benches. They were lying on the floor. "Where will we sleep?" asked Mamma. Papa found a place for them by the engine room. "It is noisy here," he said, "but it is only for 3 nights." Every morning, Mamma waited in line to boil water for their coffee. Then she carefully divided up the cheese and bread. Three days later, they docked in Hull. "Is this America?" asked Jonas. "No," said Papa. "This is England. They speak English here." But the first person they met spoke Swedish. He was an immigrant agent from the steamship company. He helped them with their baggage and got them safely to the railway station. The train to Liverpool hissed and tooted and click-clacked its way across the English countryside. There's the train up there. It passed fields and meadows and rows of brick houses. It went in and out of tunnels and by factories puffing dirty smoke. That night they slept in beds in an immigrant hotel. The Liverpool port was crowded. The Swedish families huddled together. Karl Erik held on tightly to Papa's hand. All around him, he heard the strange languages of other immigrants. English, German, Norwegian, Italian, French. The immigrants boarded the ship. A doctor examined them. He looked for their smallpox vaccinations. An old woman and a girl with a rash were sent back to land. Papa found their bunks in the section for families. Clean straw, said Mama. She stuffed the mattresses and laid out the bedding. When the ship was loaded and ready, the first-class passengers got on. The doctor smiled at them. The stewards helped them to their cabins on deck. Suddenly, there was a roar of steam and a clang of bells. The city of Baltimore was on her way to America. And that's the name of the ship, the city of Baltimore. Chapter 4, Storm and Fever. That evening, a steward placed a kettle of fish stew on the long table. The immigrants dipped into the pot with their cups and bowls. They pushed and bumped each other. A man next to Carl Eric dipped into the pot with his dirty hands. Crash! Carl Eric woke up with a start. An oil lamp had fallen to the floor. The ship was rocking. Seawater was everywhere. Trunks slid around on the wet floor. Carl Eric was afraid. He felt Papa next to him in bed. That was better. He could hear people being sick. The smell was terrible. The storm raged for 3 days. The immigrants were locked in. No one could come up on deck. Hundreds of voices prayed and sang and cried. Mama and Jonas could not eat. They became weak and feverish. One night, a hatch was unlocked. A man climbed out. He was carrying a small bundle. The ship's bell rang. What is it? Asked Carl Eric. Someone has died, whispered Papa. And that is the end of part 2. Part 3 will be next.